Hello, everyone. Hope you are doing well. Welcome to another reading comprehension question. Here the direction for question is answer the following question based on the information provided below. Well, look at the text. The text gives about what? International research, right? That reveals intriguing regional differences in temperament, the precursor to adult personality, babies' personalities. Babies has plenty in Babies have plenty in common with each other. The crying, the crawling, the sleeping, but their own little personalities are on display too. One infant might spend more time in grumpy mood than others. Another might be especially fascinated or attracted by the bright new world around them, reaching toward whatever catches their eye. My mother informs me that I was a happy and goofy baby. Perhaps you have heard stories about your own infant story self, or you have witnessed your own children's emerging traits and quirks, temperament. It is the psychologist used to describe these distinctions. It is a subset of personality that you can observe in infants and children, says Samuel Putnam. So, a developmental psychologist at Bowdoin College in Maine, US. So, measures of personality in adults are not only about behaviors and feelings, but also about patterns of thinking and ideas. They cover tendencies such as being a deep thinker, right? Having artistic interest, or handling tasks efficiently. Temperament in infants and children is instead judged by characteristics that parents or others can observe, such as activity levels and emotional responses. The varied, the varied temperaments of infants continue to develop through toddlerhood and beyond. As the children find themselves in new situations and their capacities grow, what emerges early, what emerges in early, uh, what emerges early in life serves as a foundation of what comes later. These developments don't unfold in quite the same way everywhere. However, by adulthood, average differences in personality are apparent between groups of people in different countries. For example, there are some countries, for example, there are some countries and regions such as the US, Canada, and much of Eastern Europe where people tend to score more highly on extraversion than others, such as those in Indonesia and much of East Asia. Researchers have also reported average differences between nations on the other big five personality traits like agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness to experience, such as samples in France and Russia, showing relatively high level of neuroticism with the people in Estonia and Sweden, indicating lower levels. You might imagine that it takes many years for these personality differences to come about as individuals grow within their respective societies, yet as early as infancy, there is already evidence of cross-cultural differences in temperament. Previous studies compared infants and children from just two or a few cultures, finding, for instance, that Italian infants, specifically boys, were rated higher on cuddliness than their counterparts in the US, while US babies were rated higher on level of activity. In another study, US infants and children were rated as more fearful than Finnish ones. In 2017, Putnam and the psychologist Maria Gartsen reported a larger set of comparison finding differences in average infant and childhood temperament rating across 18 different countries. By linking differences in temperament to country of upbringing rather than to more immediate factors. Studies such as this suggest that temperament might be shaped not only by one's DNA or the habits of one's parents, but also by the broader culture in which a child is immersed, including its tradition, values, beliefs, and other social convention. Isn't it? Now, in that case, if you talk about that, the passage explores how temperament and early forms of personality observation, temperament and early forms of personality observation in infants and children that varies across different regions and culture. So that varies uh, uh, across different regions and cultures. It discusses how these early traits can perfect adult personality and highlights research indicating cross-cultural differences in temperament. The findings suggest that a child's upbringing, right, influenced by broader cultural context, significantly shaped their temperament, isn't it? Well, beside that, also, if you talk about that main idea of the text, so the main idea of the text is a definition of temperament, right? We also say that regional differences in adult personality. We also say that um, early cultural differences, right? And we also talk about that temperament, which is nothing but a broader cultural context, including tradition, values, and social conventions play an important role in shaping child's temperament, isn't it? So these are the main ideas which can be called as a point wise. You can find out from the text, isn't it? So if I talk about the style of the style of the text is what? Um, it is an informative one, right? Beside that, it is a descriptive one also, descriptive, providing insights into its cultural variation, providing insights into the research on temperament and the cultural variations. It uses accessible language suitable for a general audience interested in psychology and developmental studies. Beside that, we also talk about the tone of the text. So the tone is, you can say, curious, right? And you can say analytical, isn't it? Curious and analytical one, aiming to engage readers with intriguing findings about how early personality traits develop and differ across cultures, right? So these are the things which you would find out. Um, if I talk about the couple of things like temperament as a subset of personality, this means that temperament is an early observable form of personality trait seen in infants and you can say that uh, seen in infants and children, right? Um, which later evolved into more complex personality patterns in adults, isn't it? So that is what you would find out. And when you say that big five personality traits refer to five broad domains of personality traits, like you can talk about um, extraversion, extraversion. You can also say that agreeableness, right? Conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness to experience, isn't it? So, and if you talk about cross-cultural differences, so in this also we find out variation in temperament and personality traits that are evident between different cultures and countries, isn't it? So we can consider that what are the key takeaways from the passage we uh, get. It is stated about temperament is an earlier indicator of personality observable in infants and children. Cultural context significantly influence the development of temperament and later personality traits. And you also find out research highlights that these differences are evident from infancy, suggesting the huge impact of cultural upbringing on personality development. Okay, so let's move to the question. The question stated all of the following service serves as the intent of the author to write this passage except. So again, it is an except based question, right? All the following serves as the intent of the author to write this passage except. Now, if I go for the option one, what does option one pointed? It is stated the author aims to educate readers about the concept of temperament in infants and its importance, right? Uh, it is in shaping adult personality. That is the first option. Now, if you talk about option one, it is not considering as the main or intent of the author to write this passage. Uh, this one is stated all the following serves as the intent of the author to write this passage. So in that case, option one indicates about the intent of the author. as we can find out, because the passage explains the concept of temperament in infant, describing it as a subset of personality observable in children and outlining how these early traits from the foundation of for later personality development, isn't it? This is nothing but evident throughout the text. So hence, this can be drawn as the intent of the author. So this cannot come under the except. So one is eliminated. Option two, um, but before we go to the option three, let's look at the option three. What does it say? Option 3 stated the author presents findings from international research studies to inform readers about the global scope of temperament research. Now, this one also considered as the intent of the author. The author presents findings from international research studies to inform readers about the global scope of temperament research. So, as we find out, the author presents findings from international research studies to inform readers uh, about the global scope of temperament research. The passage indeed presents findings from studies conducted in various countries, highlighting how in different cultural contexts can influence temperament. Temperament. This is clearly one of the author's intent. So hence, this cannot come under the except. Now, if you option 3 is eliminated. Now, option 4 stated um, the author includes experiences to engage readers on a personal level. This is also considered as the intent of the author to write the passage. So why? Because the author includes experiences to engage readers on a personal level. On a personal level, isn't it? Personal level. So the passage begins with the personal anecdotes and references to common experiences of observing infant behavior to make the topic relatable and engaging for readers. So this helps the draw the reader into discussion about temperament. So option 4 is eliminated as it is one of the intents of the author to write the passage. Now we have option 2 only. Now we understood that option 2 stated the author intends to raise awareness about the cultural influences on temperament development. Right. Now, in that case, the passage aims to provide an understanding of how infant temperament, which is an early indication of, you can say, adult personality. Adult personality. So that varies across different cultures. It discusses various international studies that have examined these differences and suggests that temperament is influenced by both genetic and cultural factors. So in that case, option 2 doesn't accurately represent the intent, as the passage is more about informing readers of the existence and findings of research on temperament rather than specifically raising awareness about cultural influences. So the author presents the research in a factual manner rather than as an suggestive or advocacy piece. So hence you can say option 2 would be known as the except one, right? So the answer should be option 2. Hope you understood this. That's all. Thank you.